All right, hello. It is 8:26 on Friday night. I just got back from dinner with my girlfriend and my parents for my birthday. And to be completely honest, I didn't think I would have a video for tomorrow or today, this morning when you're watching this. But I mean, as we were driving back, I was thinking about a conversation I actually had this morning with a few of the community members about creativity and kind of about on the topic of how to be inspired and consistently be inspired and not to or to how to like avoid falling into creative ruts, because as a creative and as a creator, it's kind of inevitable, right? Like falling into creative ruts and feeling uninspired, it's kind of just part of the process and part of the journey of doing this, especially if you're a creative business owner. It can be very easy to get consumed by the business side of your creative business and almost feel like you've lost your creativity. And I just kind of want to talk about it because there's a lot of interesting insights and some things we went back and forth on that I think would be valuable to a lot of people. When I fall into a creative rut or any sort of rut where I'm just not feeling creative, and when I say creativity, in my context, it's a lot of times with video, but creativity can mean literally anything. If you do something for a job or anything at all, it requires some level of creativity, whether it can be anything. So creativity isn't just limited to like this. But when I feel a lack of creativity or I feel like I'm in a rut, the first thing I do is ask myself, what am I consuming? What does my day-to-day look like? There's this great saying or quote that says you can only cook what's in the kitchen. I don't know if it's meant to be applied to creativity, but essentially the way I interpret it in this context is we can only create with what we have. We can only cook what's in the kitchen. If the ingredients in the kitchen are horrible, what we can cook is probably also going to be horrible. Where if our ingredients are good, what we can cook is going to be good or better. And the same applies for creativity. If everything we consume is garbage and not inspiring or not high quality, then everything we create is going to be a reflection of that. If we don't feel inspired, if you wake up in the morning and you consistently struggle to have ideas or know what to create, ask yourself, what are you even consuming? Are you reading? Are you watching, high quality podcasts? Are you consuming content that's not garbage? And chances are the answer to that question is going to be no. Like whenever I am in this rut, I stop and ask myself, like, what am I watching? What am I reading? What's my reading habit like? And typically in those times of creative ruts and those times of lack, and when I don't feel like motivated, I'm not consuming high quality things. I'm not reading, or I'm not, whatever, doing the things I normally do. And I don't think that's always a bad thing. Like, I'm not someone who's going to say you should delete all of your social media. You should stop watching YouTube. You should only read nonfiction books. Like, I think there's value in distraction. I think there's value in not just being locked in all the time. And there's value in just relaxing. But I do think that there's a balance, right? Like, if your relaxation is just a distraction, then it does have a negative impact, right? Like if you're planning to scroll on TikTok for 30 minutes tonight, then go ahead and scroll on TikToks for 30 minutes tonight. Like if that's what you plan on doing, where, if it's in the middle of you doing something you need to be doing, then it's probably not a good thing, if that makes sense. So it's more so just being intentional about what you consume. I always say intentional consumption, just meaning be more intentional with what it is that you consume on a day-to-day basis. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't really have a plan necessarily with this video. I know it's probably all over the place and it's very off the cuff. I know all of my videos are off the cuff, but this one especially, it was just very fresh on my mind, and I felt like there's value in talking about it, because if you are someone who is a relatively creative person, like you're just consistently creative, like you normally have issues with ideating and doing things and being motivated to create and do things, whatnot. And suddenly you feel like you're not that person, and you feel like you're just stuck in a point where, you're just not inspired, like nothing's clicking. there's value in just reflection. There's value in looking at your day to day and being like, what am I consuming? What am I doing? Am I going outside? Right? Like, you'd be amazed by how valuable just like going on a walk is. Like, when I'm the least, or when I struggle with being like creative or motivated, the thing that remedies that feeling 9 times out of 10, if not 10 times out of 10, is just going outside and doing things, like disconnecting from my phone, disconnecting from work. Like, as much as I love doing this, as much as I'm sure some of you love what you do or your hobbies that you do, like, disconnecting yourself from it is insanely valuable, and removing yourself from the things you're consuming, right? Like, it's so easy to be consumed by a million different things, and if they're not good, you're just not going to be, if they're not high quality things, you're not going to be inspired. Like I said before, not everything you have to consume has to be amazingly high quality, and like not have, like, it doesn't need to be purposeful. Like, it's not like every single podcast you need to listen to has to be some self-improvement podcast. But, you know, if all you're consuming is garbage, then you're not going to feel inspired. And so, like, my biggest advice is just to like disconnect from that, like reflect on what you're actually consuming. Go outside. Like, that sounds like such lame advice, but, you know, some of the most inspiration I've gotten in like creative ideas has not come from creating videos. Like, it's come from going and doing things, like experiencing the world, exploring other mediums. Like, I don't really talk about it a lot, but music is something that inspires me more than anything else when it comes to this. Like, so many of my video ideas start with a song, like hearing a song and imagining what that video would look like with that song, or whatever, any other song. Like, so much of my creativity comes from different things. And so just being intentional with where you spend your time and where you allow yourself to be influenced by will drastically change the consistency of your creativity and your motivation. Like, go out and doing things. If you feel like you have nothing to talk about, like if you feel like you just have literally no ideas, if you are inspired, like if even maybe the content you consume is good, maybe you're, going out and doing things, I don't know, but you still don't feel creative, like, go do more stuff, like go try things, go fail, go just talk to people, like do things. I think there's so much value in just doing things. Especially when it comes to like business. Like, if you own a business and if you like a freelancer or a service provider and you feel like nothing's happening, go make things happen, right? Like, that's like another form of creativity, is like business. Like, go make things happen. If you're a freelance videographer and you don't have any work, go talk to people, like go make connections, go do things, go fail. Like, I keep saying like, but there's so much value in just experience. There's so much value in altering what you consume. What you consume directly dictates what you can create. And so if you are struggling to create and you're struggling to have ideas, look at what you're consuming. Look at your habits. Look at what you're doing on a day-to-day. Look at the experience that you're experiencing. Look at what you're putting yourself through. And if those things don't align with who you want to be or what you want to create, then maybe they just need to change. Like, if change the music you're listening to, change the YouTube videos you watch, change the books you read. Just change what you consume to things that directly align with what you want to be and who you want to create. Yeah, that video was 100% all over the place, but it was just on my mind just because of the talk I had this morning. And I think because of like this world that we live in of like social media, it's advice, things that should be common sense are no longer common sense. And I think that just, again, there's just so much value in unplugging and disconnecting from what you do and reflecting on what you consume. I think like social media can be a great thing and it can be a bad thing, but I think it's a bad thing for not what people think. Like, I think it's easy to think that social media is bad because it sucks your time and whatever. And like, that is true. And that's not a great thing, but it's also bad because you're filling your brain with things that typically aren't inspiring and aren't valuable and aren't helping you in some way. and you can be really intentional with what you consume, which then helps you create better. Yeah, that's kind of all. I hope you guys enjoyed this Friday evening rant. I know this video is a little different than normal. It was way more off the cuff. But if you did enjoy, feel free to drop a like, comment, and subscribe down below. And I will see you next weekend. Peace.